Hey guys, what's going on? It is Broken Nose Vlogs here. If you caught my last video, it was about some very inexpensive and or free tech stuff that I had picked up. One of them in particular was this keyboard right here. This is the Red Dragon K617 Fizz, which is a 60% keyboard. This particular model though is the magnetic switch Hall effect version. And it's really neat that I got it for free. But if you guys saw the last video, when it came to unboxing and listening to how the keyboard sounded, ooh, it didn't sound too great. As a matter of fact, the keyboard's right here and it still sounds the same. It's a little tinny, a little hollow. I did some research and I found out that there's a couple different things that you can do to sort of correct this and make it sound a little bit more solid. One of the things that I was told was the keycaps themselves. The keycaps are very thin. I believe they're ABS. I also am not a huge fan of the gradient that the keyboard has, which it goes from a very light gray to a dark gray slash black, more dark gray than black. So I was told you should look at getting PBT keycaps. The other things that I've been told is painter's tape or insulation of some sort. So I have them both. Essentially, from what I've read, what you would do is you would crack the keyboard open and you can do two things. You can use painter's tape on the PCB itself, especially because it is non-conductive. This particular painter's tape, I believe, is like for delicate items, so it's not as sticky and it won't leave a residue if you take it off within a certain amount of time. Granted, we'll be keeping it on there permanently. And then the other thing that I was told is if you look at the base of the keyboard, you'll notice that the bottom is hollow. And they suggested using something like a thin vinyl, sort of like a dampening. They said even EVA foam or foam board, but I went with some relatively thin vinyl shelf liner that supposedly will help with sound and sort of improve it. So it's kind of like twofold. This should decrease like the hollowness of the keyboard, and then these keycaps, oh, that's a little that's a little I hope they're not just all flopping around in here. These keycaps should help with the typing and the actual like clacking. The ABS ones are thinner, these PBTs are thicker, and supposedly they will help us out with the sound profile. At this point, I am very curious to see what it looks like on the inside, but before I do want to go over these keycaps. So these are, like I said, pudding keycaps. They're made by a company called Womier, or Womier if it's French, I don't know. And let's crack them open and take a, oh, they're all in a bag. Okay. So I'll go over the game plan really quick. Essentially what we're going to do. We will remove all the keycaps. Once we remove all the keycaps, there should be a series of Phillips head screws that hold the PCB in the actual keyboard casing. We'll unscrew those and then we'll take the PCB out. We will do 2 layers of our painter's tape on the PCB, and then while we have it taken apart, we will use our vinyl insulation and we will layer some onto the base of the keyboard casing and see if that helps. Then we will put the new keycaps on and we will go ahead and see how it looks and see how it sounds. So I'm gonna go ahead, we'll change camera angles here and we will start taking this thing apart. It may or may not be time-lapse, it depends on how slow I am taking this thing apart. Let's get to it. Alright, so the keyboard is disconnected. We have the tools. I have a screwdriver, some scissors, keycap puller, got my tape, and I got my vinyl layering that I'm going to use. So our first step is going to be to remove the keycaps. I also have the new keycaps off to the side, but right now we're gonna focus on taking this guy out and basically doing some installation on it. So let's get to work. So we have our keyboard removed of keycaps, and as you can see here we have 9 screws altogether. I may have to take out some of the switches just judging by their positions. Like for example, it definitely looks like this keycap or this key switch and this key switch need to be removed. I think out of an abundance of safety, I will remove any switches that look like they're relatively close to these screws here. Do I have to do this? Probably not, but I think it's better to be safe than end up having my keyboard inadvertently get damaged because I did something silly. So now it looks like all of these screws are accessible. Now I am noticing one thing. This screwdriver is a tad bit too big. So I am going to go get another screwdriver really quick and I will be right back. Alright, so here is the screwdriver we're going to be using. It is definitely more suited for the job. Well, let's go ahead and we'll unscrew these 9 screws and we'll take a look at what's underneath and how we're going to remove it. Alright, so all 9 screws are removed. Now I've been told you don't have to remove the switches for the uninstallation process here, but if I do, I will take care of that shortly. Let's just see here. Oh no, they were not lying. You can just remove the PCB out and it is just fine. That's really neat. So this is our PCB to the keyboard. You got your USB port on the side here, and I mean, there's not a lot to this now that I take a look at it. The base itself is incredibly hollow. I feel like I probably could have gotten away with foam board, but that's okay. Like I said, we are going to do tape here, and then we'll do the vinyl on here. I think I'm going to do the vinyl really quick. It does look like it's going to be a slightly custom job. I might do this off camera really quick, just the measuring and cutting portion, and then I will come back. So let me go ahead and take care of this really quick and I'll be right back. Alright, so we now have our shelf liner in here. This is very thin stuff, so I double layered it. I'm doing that on purpose because I don't want to overstack it or anything like that. But our next step is going to be flipping this guy over. And from what I've been told, you will want to do, I'm just going to probably do 1 layer of constant down across here on our painter's tape. So I will go ahead and get to doing that right now. Alright, so the back of our PCB has now been taped. I actually went with 2 layers just to kind of keep everything nice and uniform. You did probably notice I didn't really do a lot over here. It's because we have the USB, and I believe this is probably for the caps lock LED as well, so I decided to just leave those alone. The next step is basically making sure I can get a little screwdriver through here and just kind of punch through the holes to make sure that everything is accessible, which I will do right now. This is pretty easy. And then we'll put it back together, and hopefully everything will sound pretty good. Of course, the next step will be not testing sound, but it will be finding out how the keycaps look on this keyboard. So let's go ahead, we'll get these holes punched, and then we will work on putting on the new keycaps. So really quick before I put the switches in, I was checking to see if there's any imbalance, and no, this thing is rock solid. I am excited to get the switches on, and then we'll do the keycaps. But so far, this is looking really, really promising. So we'll go ahead and we'll pop the rest of the switches on here, and then we will get to putting on the keycaps, and we'll finally be able to see what it sounds like, or I guess hear what it sounds like. So let's pop these back in, and then we'll get the keycaps on. Alright, so we finally have the keyboard set up. We have all the keys on here. Let's see if it sounds any different. Now, it was a little pingy and a little hollow. I mean, I want to say yes. There is a difference. And it's definitely quieter, and it doesn't sound as hollow or pingy. The next step is to see what this looks like with RGB on. So let's take a look. And then the last step will be to clean up all of the remaining keys. Let's fire this up and see what it looks like. That, you know what? Let's turn the lights off. That looks pretty nice, to be honest. That's pretty nice. So I definitely like how the keyboard looks. It definitely gives a very different effect. These pudding keycaps are really nice and they sound really nice as well. I would say this was a successful operation to quiet the keyboard and to just make it nicer to look at. I do need to run some Red Dragon software testing and make sure all of the keys actually are actuating properly and are actually being read. And then after that, I will come back to you guys face to face. So let me take a look at that really quick. So I think that wraps up the operation on this keyboard. And overall, I would say it was a success. The keyboard looks really nice. It sounds really nice. It's a win. The keyboard, as I stated before, was $0, so I did want to make this as budget oriented as possible. I really didn't go over pricing for this particular setup yet, and I'm going to do that here in the wrap up. So the keycaps, those were the most expensive part of this operation. They were $10. I will probably have a link to them in the description if you want to check them out. The vinyl shelf liner was $1.50. I got that from the Dollar Tree. And the tape I already had. That tape had been sitting around doing a whole lot of nothing. So out the door before tax, you're looking at rounding up $12 to mod this keyboard. And I think that's a great value. Like I said, I really didn't want to spend a lot of money on this keyboard to start with because I didn't pay anything for it. But now that we're all said and done, I have a very nice sounding keyboard and a very nice looking keyboard for about $12 plus tax out the door. Now, as I stated earlier, I don't have a lot of experience with putting keycaps, and I wasn't quite sure how they were going to sound or how they were going to look once everything was said and done. As a matter of fact, I actually had a few other keycaps in mind before purchasing these ones. Originally, I was trying to find some Razer Phantom keycaps. They came in black or white, and those keycaps are translucent all the way around, and then when you have lighting come through it, it will show the legends on the keycaps. Those were unobtainable for me. Nobody carries them in stock at a reasonable price, and even when they were in stock, they were in the 20 to 30s range, so I wasn't really happy with the idea of spending that much money on a free keyboard. Essentially, there were also some other models from the company that I purchased from that I was looking at. One of them was called a jelly keycap, where very similarly to Phantom keycaps from Razer, it seemed to be an entirely translucent keycap. Those were made out of, I believe, polycarbonate, and I didn't like how glossy they looked, so I ended up going with these pudding keycaps. And I gotta say, like, when you get them out of the box originally, they don't look like they're gonna have a lot of diffusion or shine through, but it's obviously proven me wrong. It looks really good. So in the end, I'll say, you know, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have ever thought about modding your keyboards, this was my very first time doing this, and I did a little bit of homework when it came to it. The tape mod, you have to use painter's tape. The sound insulation mod, where you put vinyl or EVA foam or what have you inside of the base of the keyboard, you're a little bit more open to what you can use. For my particular case use, it was suggested to use very thin vinyl or thin foam to insulate sound, and I think it turned out great. If you guys have never seen anyone mod a keyboard, I hope this was interesting to you. If you were thinking about modding a keyboard, maybe even especially the Magnetic Hall Effect K617 Fizz, I hope this was helpful to you. But I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. This was a fun little project, and now I have something nice sitting on my computer desk whenever I use my 12400F RTX 4060 build, and that's enough for me. But like I said, I'll go ahead and end the video now. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until I catch you guys in another video, take it easy. Bye bye.